Hi guys, welcome back to R.M.Aviation today. Today we're not going to be discussing an air crash and we're not really going to be discussing a news item. Today we're going to be discussing the story of D.B. Cooper, which was an airplane hijacking, and it remains one of the most famous and mysteriously unsolved crimes in US history. On the 24th of November 1971, a man using the alias Dan Cooper, later mistakenly referred to as D.B. Cooper, hijacked Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305, a Boeing 727, and extorted a ransom before disappearing without a trace. The incident has captivated the public for decades, sparking numerous investigations, theories, and speculations about the hijacker's identity and fate. Here's a detailed account of what D.B. Cooper's hijacking and aftermath looked like. The hijacking. Here are the flight details of the hijacking. The flight was Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305. The route of the flight was a Boeing 727-100 traveling from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington, with a stopover before continuing to Denver. The date was the 24th of November 1971, Thanksgiving Eve, and the passengers and crew, there were 36 passengers and 6 crew members on board. The hijacking begins. The man who would later be known as D.B. Cooper boarded the flight at Portland International Airport in Oregon under the name Dan Cooper, buying a one-way ticket to Seattle. He was dressed in a black suit, tie, raincoat, giving him an appearance of a typical businessman. Shortly after takeoff at around 3 p.m. PST, Cooper handed a note to the flight attendant, Florence Schwaffner, who initially thought it was just a lonely passenger's phone number. When she opened the note, it read, "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I want $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes and a fuel truck standing by in Seattle to take me out of here." Cooper then showed her the briefcase containing what appeared to be a bomb, although it was never confirmed to be real. The flight attendants, visibly frightened, sat down and relayed the message to the cockpit. The ransom demands. The airline quickly contacted authorities at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, was put on alert. Cooper's ransom demands were clear: $200,000 in cash, about $1.3 million in today when adjusted to inflation. 4 parachutes, 2 main parachutes and 2 reserves, a fuel truck ready to refuel the plane for a getaway. The airline and authorities were complied to the demands to ensure the safety of passengers and crew, and the money was collected, the parachutes were obtained, and the fuel truck was ready. The flight continues. The plane lands Flight 305 under the direction of Captain William Scott, landed in Seattle at around 5 p.m., and Cooper was allowed to speak to the authorities while the plane was parked on the runway. He released the 36 passengers after they were taken off the plane. No one was harmed, but Cooper still held the remaining crew, 2 flight attendants and the crew. The hostage. The flight restarts. Cooper now ordered the plane to take off again with a specific set of conditions. He demanded that the aircraft was to fly on a southern route towards Mexico with a very low altitude of about 10,000 feet, with the rear stairway on the 727 extended for his escape. The flight crew complied with these flight conditions, and the plane took off from Seattle, heading towards Reno, Nevada. At approximately 7:40 p.m., after some delays, the escape. The jump, while flying over the dense wilderness of southwestern Washington near Clark County area, Cooper executed his daring escape. At approximately 8 p.m., while the plane was cruising around 10,000 feet, and with bad weather conditions, Cooper opened the rear stairway of the plane and jumped out with the ransom money, a parachute, and a knapsack. The plane and crew, now remaining the flight attendants and pilots, continued on its course to Reno, unaware of Cooper's leap into the night. Aftermath. Despite the extensive manhunt and search operations by military and law enforcement, Cooper's whereabouts remained a mystery. No physical trace of him or the ransom money was found for many years. The FBI conducted one of the most extensive investigations in U.S. criminal history to locate Cooper, but the case remained unsolved. The investigation. The FBI's pursuit. So the FBI launched a massive investigation which included interviews with flight crew, passengers, and anyone who had connections to the hijacker. They worked to piece together Cooper's description, which was vague, only only that he was a middle-aged white man with a deep voice and possibly a military background. The investigators revealed numerous leads and theories, but were unable to conclusively identify or locate Cooper. Theories of Cooper's identity. Many theories about Cooper's identity have emerged over the years. Some believe that it was an experienced skydiver or someone with military training, as his jump was highly calculated. Other theories have pointed to various suspects, but none have led to definitive conclusions. The ransom money. In 1980, about 9 years later, a breakthrough occurred when a young boy found a decaying package containing $5,800 of ransom money along the Columbia River in Washington, about 20 miles from Vancouver. The serial numbers on the bills matching those given to Cooper, but it was unclear whether Cooper had hidden the money before his death or if the bills had been washed away by the river after he jumped. The discovery raised more questions, but it did not provide the crucial evidence it needed to solve the case. Theories and speculation. One theory was that Cooper survived. Some believed that Cooper survived the jump and escaped into the wilderness. The area where he parachuted was rugged, thick, and with forest, and if there were no reports of anyone seeing him land, if he survived, it is possible he did hide out in the forest and he escaped undetected. The second theory was Cooper did not survive. Others speculated that Cooper may not have survived the jump, especially considering the poor weather conditions, his lack of experience of parachuting in such conditions, and the possibility of hitting trees or rocks when landing. The parachute he used later to be found unconventional military-style chute, which would have been difficult for an inexperienced person to use. 3 was the possible suspects. Over many years, and many suspects have been suggested, but none have ever been conclusively linked to the crime. Some of the prominent suspects include Richard McCoy Jr., a skydiver and former Army soldier who hijacked a plane in a similar fashion in 1972. McCoy was caught and sentenced to prison for his crime, but the similarities raised suspicion. Another option was Kenneth Christiansen, a former flight attendant for Northwest Orient Airways, whose life and career had been raised questions due to his knowledge of airline procedures. He died in 1994, and his name resurfaced in connection with the hijacking. Other suspects, numerous other individuals have been suspected and speculated to be Cooper, but none have been definitely proven to be the hijacker. Legacy. The unsolved mystery and the DB Cooper hijacking remains an unsolved case, and despite the efforts of the FBI to identify the hijacker is still a mystery. The case was officially closed in 2016, but it continues to capture the fascination with books, documentaries, and films continuing to speculate on the details of the crime. Cultural impact. The D.B. Cooper case has had a long-lasting impact on pop culture, aspiring numerous books, films, TV shows, and documentaries. It remains one of the most famous unsolved criminal cases in U.S. history, with many considering it a perfect crime. Theories and public fascination. The case's open-ended nature, combined with the dramatic nature of the hijacking and the audacity of escape, continues to fascinate peoples around the world, and many still wonder, did D.B. Cooper live to spend his ransom money, or did he perish in the jump? In conclusion, the D.B. Cooper hijacking is a fascinating and enduring mystery that continues to intrigue people today. Despite one of the most exhaustive investigations in U.S. history, the hijacker's identity and fate remains unknown. Whether Cooper survived and escaped or died in the wilderness, his story has become a legendary part of American criminal history, as well as also aviation history. As much as it wasn't directly linked to aviation was involved within the daring escape. So if you'd like to leave your opinion on what happened, or even just in general, please leave a comment, and tomorrow we'll go back to our normal thing about air crashes. So thank you. Like and subscribe if you want more.